it's hard. I mean, it's so hard to grip the ball. I just, I mean, for Pete's sake.
There's no crying in baseball. Well, at least according to Tom Hanks. But there sure is a hell of a lot of cheating. I mean, they might as well change the words of the song to Buy Me Some Pine Tar and Spider Tack. America's pastime is littered with sign stealing, cork bats, spitballs, steroids, and sticky stuff. And I have to know, why do baseball players cheat so much?
Well, cheating is a part of the game. It was there at the outset.
They can be very scientific about what works and what doesn't. They can figure out how to be good at it and then discard everything that doesn't work.
There's always that move to look for an edge.
The history of cheating in baseball is just so deep that it's something that we all kind of shrug and say, okay, we know there's something going on.
Baseball's first scandal was called the Wansley Affair, which sounds more like a movie starring Pierce Brosnan. So how much was the integrity of the game worth? Well, in 1865, $100. In Daniel E. Ginsberg's book, The Fix Is In, he wrote how William Wansley, a catcher for the Mutuals of New York, was the figurehead of throwing a game against the Brooklyn Eckfords. Wansley conspired with two of his teammates, third baseman Ed Duffy and shortstop Tom Dever, to split a $100 bribe from gambler Kane McLaughlin, who was not brought to you by DraftKings.
The Wansley Affair is the first instance of game fixing, which was then called heaving, tossing a game for the benefit of gamblers and thus getting a cut of the action.
Now, this wasn't the last time baseball and gambling were tied together. There's the infamous Black Sox Scandal, where members of the Chicago White Sox were accused of throwing the 1919 World Series, and of course Pete Rose. By the way, do you think he should be in the Hall of Fame?
Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath.
However, our focus is less on cheating the game and more on cheating in the game, which perhaps began with Mark Twain, or at least his favorite baseball team, in 1876. According to The Hidden Language of Baseball by Paul Dixon, the origins of cheating were with the Hartford Dark Blues, the author of Huck Finn's Chosen Squad. As the story goes, the Dark Blues built a shack atop a telegraph pole and thus were able to tip off teammates to pitches, as if they were telegraphed, I guess. But that was hardly the most shocking way teams stole signs. Allow me to introduce you to a fellow by the name of Morgan Murphy.
Well, Morgan Murphy was a veteran reserve catcher who played very little for the Phillies, but he was stationed in center field with field glasses or binoculars or a telescope.
And actually wiring a cable system from the scoreboard to the third base coach's box with an electronic buzzer, and the third base coach would stand on top of that buzzer, and when he felt it vibrate,
they produced a tremor in his leg which signaled the batter that a fastball was coming or a fastball was not.
That really stood as cutting-edge cheating back in 1900.
From shocks to the shot heard round the world. Yes, the Giants did win the pennant in 1951, but perhaps they never received their pennants, because a Wall Street Journal piece more than 50 years later revealed they had a long-running sign-stealing scheme based on a similar telescope and buzzer system sent to the bullpen phone. Bobby Thompson admits to taking some signs, but denies he did on that particular pitch.
Thompson denied it. Branca affirmed it. After years, decades of appearing at banquets together and being chummy, Branca finally revealed his irritation with Thompson, and he said that second fastball up, which nobody should have been swinging at, Thompson attacked it the way a lion would attack a wounded antelope.
Back at the Polo Grounds, the clubhouses were in dead center field. Now it's like a mile and a half from home plate. But with the help of binoculars, you had a clear view of the catcher signals. So for the rest of that season, using that system, the Giants went 21-4 at home.
So one does not need to check an Apple Watch to know, no, the Astros are not alone.
I think the Astros in some way have been singled out.
So I think what that tells you is that every team was doing basically what the Red Sox were doing, and nobody was doing what the Astros were doing.
The Astros with the monitors, banging a garbage can, that's taking it way, way too far.
It's kind of like the speed limit, right? We'll kind of allow 55, 60 if the speed limit is 55. But if you're running down the highway at 95 on, doing a wheelie, you're going to get stopped.
Nonetheless, pitchers have always been willing to test those limits. Just ask Gerrit Cole.
There are customs and practices that have been passed down from older players to younger players, from the last generation of players to this generation of players.
One of those older players was named Elmer Strickland, who claimed he invented the spitball in 1902 after he was told the ball does tricks when wet while having a catch in the rain. An umpire said the delivery of Strickland's pitch would spray like a garden hose. Gross. Future Hall of Famer Jack Chesbro then did a spit take. Well, he took the spitball and won 41 games in 1904.
We use the term spitball as kind of an all-encompassing term because otherwise we'd have a whole glossary of names for pitches.
The rules accommodated cheating. They responded to cheating. It wasn't that the rules were handed down like tablets from Mount Ararat. It was that the game changed in response to people stretching the boundaries.
Pitchers, however, remained full of spit, or let's just say they continued with their tricks. Gaylord Perry even wrote the book on it, while Whitey Ford admitted to using all sorts of substances. And Joe Niekro was suspended 10 games after an emery board fell out of his pocket, and he ended up on Letterman.
So you're telling me that you did not doctor the ball that night?
Do I look like a doctor?
Well, that's one way to spin it. And the rate at which pitchers have remained stuck on using foreign substances hasn't changed much, which led to some of them being caught with their pants down.
You don't have to do what they used to do, which is spend, like a whole season trying to figure out if what you're doing is having any effect at all. In this case, you can know in a single bullpen session what's working and what's not.
So it did go from, hey, I need a better grip, to, hey, let's see if I can spin this baseball at 3,000 RPMs and make it almost impossible to hit, especially if I'm throwing 95, 96.
But even if sticky stuff currently has your Spider Tack senses tingling, let's not make this just a pitcher thing. Otherwise, I tell you to put a cork in it, like Sammy Sosa, Albert Bell, and Chris Sabo did.
How about that? That's a stream of cork running right up and down to Chris Sabo's bat. How about that?
Greg Nettles even had the balls to claim he was using a bat given to him by a fan after his broke and 6 Super Balls bounced out. Though some scientists have argued altering the bats may not have actually made much of a difference, it's pretty clear altering bodies did. Enter biogenesis. I feel like the Terminator theme should be playing whenever I say that. The steroid era led to home run records, regrettable magazine covers, increased head sizes, some interesting before and after pictures, congressional hearings, and even urine collector smearing. But apparently all of that has been forgiven, considering I just saw A-Rod enter the field of dreams. It remains to be seen whether he'll enter the Hall of Fame though, as PEDs seem to be considered a more egregious form of cheating. So where exactly is the line between fair and foul play? Or is it a judgment call, like balls and strikes from behind the plate?
I think it's really up to the individual fan to classify what is out of line and what is sort of skirting the rules.
Not all crimes are equal, not all punishment is equal. So I think it's the same in baseball, where you have your felonies and you have your misdemeanors.
Preacher Rowe, who confessed to throwing spitballs in the early 1950s, I think he's the one who said it ain't cheating if you don't get caught.
Honestly, I don't think there's that much more cheating in baseball than in other sports. I think that they are better at it in baseball because there are so many sort of discrete moments. It's easier to measure.
I guess all of this is to say that attempting to cheat is one of the unwritten rules of baseball, whether it be sign stealing, sticky stuff, or steroids, and whether they be used for team success, individual advantages, or to make more money. What I still can't say is why America's pastime almost romanticizes cheating, other than it's been around for so long and players have lots of time and substances on their hands. And while I certainly won't condone it, the storied history of chicanery does make it more difficult to condemn any one player or team specifically, as I suppose baseball and cheating will always be stuck together in some way. I'm Robin Lundberg, and now you know.